why did the French Revolution stabilize France and make it prosper? But on the other hand, Russia, after the Russian Revolution, started starving and killing its own people, and finally crumbled in the 1990s. So, am I right in saying that France prospered after the French Revolution, which is an interesting thing? So, the French Revolution, well, revolutions are violent affairs, and revolutions most often do more harm than good. So, what was the aim of the French Revolution? Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. And they threw in laicité, which means secularism, right? Liberty, equality, fraternity, and secularism. So, yes, the aim of the French Revolution was to overthrow the monarchy. They did succeed in doing that in a very bloody manner, and lots of collateral damage, lots of violence, lots of unnecessary deaths, and all that you had in the French Revolution. It was a period of great chaos. Whatever geopolitical gains the French had made over the past centuries were all frittered away because of this disastrous turmoil within France. And then what happened? Within a very short period of time, Monsieur Napoleon Bonaparte, Mr. Napoleon, he convinced the French people that the only way to take forward the gains of the French Revolution and the ideals and the principles of the French Revolution was to crown him the Emperor of France. Isn't that funny? That's the kind of audacity this man had. So, in a very short period of time, you had a return to monarchy. Of course, Napoleon was a secularist. He did reform the system of governance thoroughly, completely, totally overhauled it. The system that France uses today for governance is basically the Napoleonic Code. And the constitution also is Napoleon's constitution was also very influential. So yes, there was a great change in France, and France was able to continue developing as a nation after the revolution, but it was a very big period of turmoil and chaos. Now, if you look at the Russian Revolution, it was in 1917, 17, 18, thereabouts. So the Russian Revolution also it had the same aim as the French Revolution, to overthrow the monarchy, the Tsars, right? And that's what they achieved. And it was all about empowering the proletariat, overthrowing the bourgeoisie, and having a people's revolution and a people's dictatorship, etc., which they were able to achieve. So once again, you had the royals were massacred, they were all shot, and the old system was thrown out. And then you had the Soviet Politburo that took over and embarked upon this imperialistic process. And so what was the end result of this? You had a very small number of people, the Politburo, who came to power and who basically ruled this vast nation, right? So you can call it whatever you want. We can call it the dictatorship of the proletariat, or you could call it the People's Republic, or the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. But it was again a very small number of people, a small clique, a small gang of people, a small cabal who had all the power. So how is it different from a monarchy? So once again, so the thing is this: you can never have absolute equality in any human society. If you have an ordered society, you have a hierarchy. So it always gives rise to another hierarchy. That's what happens. These revolutions and all, they always give rise to another hierarchy and another consolidation of power, with a people having most of the power. Now, Russia also developed a lot. After the Russian Revolution, it became a superpower. I mean, come on. Did they starve and kill their own people? Yes, Mr. Stalin did kill a lot of people via artificial famines. But after Stalin, the situation was better. Of course, the entire country was ruled with an iron hand for sure. But you know what? It's the same everywhere. You are in democratic systems, you are made to think that you have the right to vote, etc. But everything is controlled anyway. Right? So yes, the Soviet system did crumble in the 1990s, and then you have a return to the monarchy of sorts. Mr. Putin is the new Tsar, you could say. He calls him, Mr. Xi Jinping is the new emperor. right? You can call this position by whatever name you want, but it's a return to the same system. So revolutions are a violent, chaotic process. They have some good results, some good outcomes, some bad outcomes. I think overall the French overall prospered more, I would say, than the Russians. Russia has always been a hard land. In the history of Russia, if you look at the past 1,000 years, it's always been a history of hardships. So whatever happened after the Russian Revolution is essentially part of the same pattern, that Russia is a hard land to live in. The story of Russia is one of hardships. So every nation has a certain character. The Russian character is that it's a land of hardships. It's a land of sorrows, and it's a land of hard people, people who drink vodka, who are stoic, and who carry on no matter what happens. So that's the character of Russia, and that's what you see there. And the French have a very different character, and that's what you see there as well. So that is a small brief comparison. I mean, these are vast topics. You can spend 10 years studying the Russian Revolution and the French Revolution. I've just given a very brief overview. So that's a small brief comparison of these two events.